to Igniting Change. We are so happy that you have joined our show today because we have some great news to bring you, some very important stories for you to hear, and we want to express so much gratitude. So we're so glad that you are here today. Let me bring up my mighty co-host, none other than the chair of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition, the president of the TJC Action Fund. He's also one of our nation's boldest strategists when it comes to political activity, and he is just a brilliant civil rights lawyer and voting rights advocate. You know who I'm talking about, none other than attorney Daryl D. Jones. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Barbara, it must be Tuesday, must be noon Eastern Standard Time because we're talking igniting change. Barbara, I got to start, and we got to start by wishing everybody a happy Malcolm X Day today.
You got
this
it.
will be the birthday of Malcolm X. And, Barbara, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm going to ask you this question. What would Malcolm X say today, given what's going on with this White House? My goodness, I could almost hear it. Almost hear it, Barbara.
Yes, and he would have a whole lot to say to black people because he's the one who gave the speech called the Ballot or the Bullet. He says you either give us that ballot or we have to show you our power when we're denied. And folks, already that's happening. You know that the Supreme Court has weaponized, you heard me, weaponized its decision in the Calais case to actually encourage brutal, ugly racial discrimination in withdrawing districts by these southern states that have been under court orders because of all their past discrimination and their current discrimination of black voters. In fact, in Tennessee, where they destroyed the major black district that covered Memphis, that was represented, by the way, by a white congressman. They just wanted to make it clear, right, Daryl, that they really are going after black political power, period. They don't care who sits in the seat. They just don't want African Americans to have that much power, so they split that district into three. And during the voting, they laughed because one of their colleagues came in wrapped in a Trump flag, and they laughed and gloated. In Louisiana, they have been meeting and passing everything they can to advance a new law to get rid of the majority black districts there. And the chair of the Democratic Party, who's a black man who's been in that chamber constantly, they called him a boy, told him to shut up, boy. Come on now. This is what we're dealing with, people. This kind of outrageous, emboldened, evil. And it's so important. So when it comes to the question of the ballot, or, as Malcolm said it, the NAACP had a response today. They launched what's called Out of Bounds. And the Out of Bounds is saying to all those brilliant, beautiful African-American athletes, don't go to and play for these public schools in these states. Don't go there. Don't give them your talent while they're denying your political power and that of all the people you know. People, this is a serious moment, right, Daryl?
Yeah, absolutely, Barbara. And if you find that you've got to go to one of these states where this is going to, find out if they have an HBCU. Go to the HBCU athletes. Go to the HBCU students. Go to the HBCU, those that are taking their scholarships. Take your talents where they're going to be appreciated. The HBCU is going to appreciate those talents, and we encourage you to uplift our mighty people by your talents with your efforts and do it intentionally. That's one of the things, Barbara, when we were down in Montgomery, Alabama this past Saturday for the All Roads Lead to the South, that's one of the things that was most telling. This was something that was organized in, 10 days or something like that? And you had thousands of people that descended upon Montgomery, Alabama to say, hands off our vote, hands off our rights, hands off, and we're going to stand up and tell you to take your hands off of our rights. That's the moment that we're in, Barbara, and that's the moment that we've got to be certain that everybody is mounting up on their horse and ready to ride into the fray to say, I'm going to protect these rights, Barbara.
Yes, and you can start right now. Everyone on this call, listen to me. Today is an election day. It is a primary election day. And you have friends in the 5 states that I'm about to tell you about who are voting today. You need to call all your family, all your friends, all of them, and tell your folks to get out and vote today. If you live in Alabama and you haven't voted early, today is the day to vote. In fact, you probably can't because Alabama does not really have early voting. So this is the main day for people to vote. So everybody, call your family, friends, associates in Alabama. If you have family, friends, associates in Georgia, come on, Georgia. Come on, Georgia. Today is your primary voting day. Kentucky, same. Today is your primary voting day. Pennsylvania, Philly, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, all them great towns and cities. It's time to vote, Pennsylvania. Get out there and vote. And Oregon, we're not going to leave you out of Oregon. At Oregon also, there is voting. Folks, if you know people, your duty today is to call them to make sure that they vote because we don't want people to get out of the habit of voting. They say, well, it's just a primary. Primaries count. And you want to make sure that you vote every opportunity, every time, every season. Vote today. Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Oregon. And Daryl.
Absolutely, Barbara. And one of the trends we've seen happening, Barbara, has been the trend of strong black voter turnout every place where voting is occurring. We've got to push it, make it even stronger. We've got to push the numbers and get them up even more. Be certain that you call your family, call your friends, email blast, whatever it is, TikTok, whatever it is that you do. Reach out to your neighbors, your friends, your family, and get them out when it's time to vote in your area, in your state. Get them to those polls, Barbara. I'm sorry.
And folks, the title of our show today is Democracy Under Threat, a disenfranchising Supreme Court and our fight back and our fight forward to make sure that what they're trying to accomplish is defeated. Folks, our turnout is the answer right now, our registration and turnout. So we have with us some amazing guests to tell you about what's going on. I want you to be educated so that people can't lie to you and try to distract you and not tell you the truth about the threat that our vote is under because of this outrageous Supreme Court that's doing everything they can to win it for their president. This is evil. I can't even get into it the way I want to, but let me bring our guests up. Our first guest is not new to the show. You know her. She is one of the amazing leaders in our nation, coming out of the great state of Mississippi. You heard me, Mississippi. She is the former state representative. She currently heads up the mighty MIRA, the Mississippi Immigration Rights Association. And more importantly for this call, she's also the chair of the New National Christian Leadership Movement, a association of over 3,000 African American and other churches from around the country, mainly in the South right now. It's a brand new 1-year-old organization. Got a big conference coming up in June, and she'll tell us all about that. But also, she's been fighting on the front lines against all of this redistricting evil, racism, and she's been amazing. And she's getting ready to tell us about the fight in Mississippi. Hello, welcome back, Kathy Sykes, to Igniting Change.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I mean, it's always a pleasure to join you, Attorney Arwine and Attorney Jones, on Igniting the Change, because that's what you all are doing. You all are striking a match and igniting change all over this country. And the way you're doing it with information. And that's why I'm always excited and happy to join you all on your call.
Thank you. We're so happy that you're here. And Daryl, bring up our second guest. Come on now.
Well, you know, Barbara, it's always great to bring back somebody who is so popular within our TJC family, so popular in the Rainbow Push family. You know, he's the community coordinator in the Office of the Faith-Based Initiatives at the Chicago Public Schools. He's Minister Cameron Barnes. He also serves as the National Voting Rights Advocate. He's the National Youth Director of Rainbow Push, Transformative Justice Coalition Fellow, and a Freedom Rider, Associate Minister and Director of Youth and Young Adult Engagement. You can find him in Chicago at New Faith Missionary Baptist Church. Welcome back, Minister Cameron Barnes.
Attorney Jones, Attorney Arwine, and Ms. Sykes, it's so wonderful to be with you all this morning. You know I love igniting change. I love transformative justice, and I love to stand up and fight back for our voting rights.
Hey, you got it, and you stood side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and lent your shoulder oftentimes to Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, a senior.
Yes,
he was your mentor, and you were his side, and you kept him rolling. And when he needed you, when he could not, all the time stand steady by himself, you were there to uplift him, to be there for him, and to carry forth his incredible legend. Thank you for all that you do, Cameron. So, folks, let's talk about what's going on, because a whole lot is happening, and you're not hearing about it. The people aren't telling you. It's not on the national news the way it should be. So let's talk about Mississippi. Let's open the show up. Kathy, we want you to tell all of our people listening right now what just happened in Mississippi with the Supreme Court's new order that they issued yesterday, folks.
Yes, it's simply devastating that we worked so hard and so diligently to go to court because we saw that the population and representation did not align in Mississippi. We were able to win that case. The Supreme Court agreed with us, and they granted us a total of 3 seats, 2 new Senate, majority-minority Senate seats, and 1 majority-minority House district in Mississippi. And on the ruling yesterday, I couldn't believe it when our U.S. Supreme Court reneged on the order that they had just issued last year. And these folk ran in a special election that cost money. You don't run free, very expensive, and won these seats. I'm talking about Representative Justin Crosby, who represents House District 22 in the Mississippi legislature. And I'm talking about Senator Teresa Isom, that represents Senate District 2 in the Mississippi legislature. And I'm talking about Senator Johnny Dupree, that represents Senate District 45 in the Mississippi legislature. These 3 people have been done a terrible injustice because the Supreme Court on yesterday said that their districts were not valid because of the Calais ruling. And let me just share with you a little bit about these districts that they were able to win in. In House District 22, it had a BVAP, black voting age population, of 50.11, 50.1% BVAP, barely black voting age majority population. And then they introduced a new term called APBVAP. That means all population black. So that means if you got any part black, if you black and mixed with anything, and you put that on your census, then they included you in the APBVAP, all population black. And it was 51.18% in that district.
Wow.
Representative Justin Crosby won, even though it was just barely a majority black district. In Senate District 2, represented by Senator Teresa Isom, her BVAP was 49.07. That's the black voting age population in this newly created district that she won. And the AP BVAP was 50.1, 50.1, and she won. And in Senate District 45, the BVAP was 50.02. And the AP VAT was 51.24. So I'm letting you know that these people won in district that was barely in District 2. It wasn't even majority of black voting age population. And they won, and now the Supreme Court is saying that because race was considered, that these districts are going to be done away with. And I just want to share with you all what Dr. Byron DeAndre Orrid posted this morning. And it made me think. It was food for thought. He wrote, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, if majority black districts are considered race-based, why aren't majority white districts viewed the same way? And I'm going to stop right there.
Woo, 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 woo. That was a lot. Go ahead, there.
Yeah, and former Representative Sykes, I need to, be certain that we're clear for our listening audience. When we're talking about Mississippi, we're talking about the state that has the highest population of African Americans in the country. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. We should be the first state. Yes. Huh?
Yeah, what is the percentage of blacks in Mississippi?
So it lingers around 39%. With our census, there's a great undercount. And hopefully with the upcoming census, we'll do a better job of counting our people. And so I'm thinking that it's actually greater than that. I just think that we have way more than actually go through the trouble of responding to the census, so they think it's trouble, but it's actually a way to gain accurate representation as well as funding for the things that we need in our community. That's why I encourage everyone to answer the census when they knock on your door, when they send the questionnaire in the mail. Please fill it out and send it back, because these numbers are skewed and they're not accurate, and we suffer because of that. But I just think the Supreme Court, yes.
Right. And I just want to put it in context for, I want to just put it in context for our listeners, Representative Sykes. 39% of the black population in Mississippi, right? 39% of the population in Mississippi is black. Of the total population is black. What percentage of the electeds, what percentage of blacks make up what in the House as well as in the Senate? If you do that breakdown, what does that look like?
So in the Senate, I think we have 18 now. And in the House, it's around 50. Out of 120
is that 50%?
In the House, and out of 50, individuals, and out of 52 in the Senate, 18 are African. So there's a supermajority in the House and in the Senate of conservatives. Mississippi has a supermajority in the House and the Senate, And then all of our statewide elected offices are held by conservatives. Every one of them.
Right. And has there ever been a black elected to statewide office in Mississippi?
During Reconstruction, yes.
Right.
But not since Reconstruction.
That's what I thought. There hasn't been one since Reconstruction.
In the largest district was Mike Espy when he was the first since Reconstruction to be elected to Congress, and Congressman Benny Thompson, who I was with last night. We had a community meeting at Pearl Street AME Church, and Congressman Thompson was there because they are eyeing his congressional seat. But the thing about Mississippi is there's so many of us, if they cut up, Congressman Benny Thompson's district, and it's already been packed, and they're the ones that drew the district. The conservatives drew the district that he's in now. And it stretches almost from Tennessee to the Gulf of Mexico, okay? And so they drew those lines. So if anything is wrong with his district, they are the ones that drew it. He didn't draw his own district, and we don't even have a fighting minority. They have a super majority, and so the progressives are often overlooked when decisions are made in Mississippi. And Congressman Thompson's district is on the radar because our president, I've heard, sent orders down to see what they can do about Congressman Thompson's district. But on the flip side of it, so many of us, so if they mess with his district, then they're subsequently messing with our other three. So we only have 1 out of 4 congressional seats. And so if they go into his district, then they're going to hurt their friends in the other 3 districts. And so we just going to fight. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's going to be all kind of unintended consequences. But let me say one thing, everybody who's listening. This Supreme Court is playing dirty. And I'm sorry to say that as a lawyer, but they are, because the ruling the order they issued yesterday didn't even relate to the case that they were considering.
Mm-mm.
The whole reason why they accepted the review by the court was on the basis of Mississippi having the gall, the unmitigated gall, to say that people should not be able to, individuals had no private right of action to sue under the Voting Rights Act. That was the issue. And the court did not decide that issue. Instead, it jumped over the question of standing to reach the result of vacating these districts. That's how ideologically inclined they are, and how reckless and unethical they are, that they would absolutely skip over the issue that was before them to reach the substantive question of the districts that was not before them. So this just shows you who they are, people. They're not about just quote, trying to be race neutral. They are putting their fingers on the scales to say deny black political power. They also, folks, yesterday, not only did they issue that order, they did the same identical thing in a case that was before them on the question of, is there a private right of action under the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act? And they skipped over that question to invalidate a Native American district. Folks, this is coming at everyone. Don't be sitting here thinking that this is just a Southern problem. That Native American districts in North Dakota. And last week, a lawsuit was filed against the state of Illinois trying to contest one of the black seats there. Folks, I'm telling you, This is an all-out assault. And that brings me to Cameron. You saw.
Yes.
Yeah, you were there in mighty Montgomery. You took time to travel from Chicago to Montgomery in such short notice. When you got there, why did you come, but also what was different about this mobilization than others that you've been to? You've been to so many, backing up the amazing Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. Tell us, how was this different, sir?
Well, absolutely. I'll first say that I came from Chicago because I look at Alabama, as we all should. I look at Alabama as the birthplace of black political power. That's where it was, of course, our Constance of the Congress, our boy from Troy, Congressman John Lewis, and so many others, Amelia Boynton, and others that were across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. That's where we garnered our right to vote. It's only 61 years old. And anyone who cares anything about voting rights who has not ever been to Montgomery or Selma, Alabama, I would argue that you don't care that much because you would have to be able to go back. So, of course, I went back there. And the reason I traveled from Chicago is simply because the only reason I got the right to vote in Chicago is because of what happened in Alabama. And then in this unprecedented attack that we're in the midst of with our voting rights, it makes absolutely all the sense in the world for all of us and more of us to go down to make this stance on voting rights. It was less than about 24 hours, around about 48 hours after the April 29th Louisiana versus Calais decision that Governor Kay Ivey called the special session to redraw the maps in Alabama. And it was because of Transformative Justice Coalition and our Gen Z Millennial Votes Matter training course that I was able to meet the plaintiffs, I believe it's Allen versus Milligan case that happened down in Alabama. So we've been so thoroughly immersed in not only voting rights, but specifically the voting rights surrounding Alabama. I'll also say, as you mentioned, that I came down here because our sainted mentor, who's mentored all of us, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr., could not be down there anymore. And if he were alive, if he were alive and mobile, he would have certainly been down there. I grew up in the tradition of Reverend Jesse Jackson, so I had to be there. Now, I wanted to say that as the reason why I came from Chicago. Now, what was different about this particular event, this one had a little bit more of honestly, on a very sunny and hot day, there was a little bit more grim clouds that were hanging over. There were some people who came out of kind of the margin of despair in the hope that we could be able to lift up our voting rights that have not been under this kind of attack, I don't think, in a number of years. We're literally right back into the modern day 60s. We're in 1965 right now, in 2026. And so what was different, though, about this one is, and I believe one of our other, you recall Attorney Arnwine, Attorney Jones, when we had dinner the other night in Montgomery, one of our other TJC fellows, Janice Gentry, she mentioned that the generational demographic that was across those thousands of people out there, I saw so many tiny young people. I'm talking about less than 10 years old, some of them 12, 13 years old, not eligible to vote. But they were down there proudly holding their signs. They were down there, lifting up. I gave one of the little young people the Protect Our Vote sign, and he, God bless his little heart, lifted it up as high as he could with his tiny little arms. What was different, though, about this one is I think that there were so many people who have now come to the realization, wait a minute, if we don't do something, we've heard that the cliche almost, some people may call it a cliche of, they're trying to roll us back to the 60s. I think that we have a culture of people now who are really realizing, wait a minute, if we don't say something, we are actually physically back in the 1960s. It will, the Supreme Court justices have already said that at this point, because of the Louisiana versus Calais case, this
Voting Rights Act in Section 2 is nothing more than a dead letter. I believe it was Justice Kagan that said that in her dissent. It's nothing more than a dead letter. And there are people who are coming to realization that we really have work to do.
And Cameron, what did it mean to you? I know that when we were down in Montgomery, you had the opportunity to meet and speak with Tennessee Representative Justice Jones and Tennessee Representative Justin Pearson. What did it mean to you? Was there a difference when you heard them speak, when you saw them interacting with the folk, not just the young folk, but the folk that were in that crowd and hearing AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez address the crowd? Did that have any extra impact on you in terms of the moment that we are really in right now?
Oh, absolutely. It made, first of all, I give kudos to all of those that you mentioned, certainly Congresswoman Cortez and to State Representatives Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. But I've not yet met Congresswoman AOC, but I have been in this fight even with State Representative Jones and State Representative Pearson. My heart was really, really happy and overwhelmed to see this Gen Z and millennial voting power that was activated and elected them into their positions, and the fire that they have. It gives me hope that, I have to remind everybody that, we didn't just get Congressman Lewis as Congressman Lewis. We got him as a young student that was a part of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And to me, it was almost like, oh, my goodness, we are literally now, as we are putting away our elders in the times of eternity, we are now stepping into we don't know who we're going to be in 20, 30, 40 years. But if it's any indication of who we are and what we are today, then I believe our democracy is going to be in some good hands of the Gen Z and millennial. Hearing them, State Representatives Jones and Pearson, talk about what is going on with such passion, such fervency, with such aggression, and not for aggression of violence, but aggression for the time that we don't have any time to waste. It was certainly different for me to hear them on that main stage, interacting, having older people, more seasoned people who have been in the movement that would just run and embrace them and say, thank you so much for what you are doing. They didn't have to come from Tennessee over into Alabama. They have, one could say, their own fight in the state of Tennessee. You all mentioned it, and Sister Sykes just mentioned it earlier with the elimination of the district in Tennessee that was represented by a white congressman. We've got to understand that we are now in a fight like you mentioned, because it gets on my nerves when some people say this is just a black thing, this is just a white thing. What about white voting power, whatever? As if we're only doing this simply because of the black people. The powers that be are dismantling democracy, and they don't care who stands in the way, black, brown, red, or yellow, or indifferent. This is an attack to dilute black voting power. Don't care if you are represented by a white person. So let's not get into the mix of race and so on and so forth of that, oh, we just want black people in Congress. They're moving the white people out of Congress as well if they're representing the black interests.
And don't forget, Cameron, I mentioned that they invalidated the Native American district also.
It's a full-on attack of everyone who is not getting along with this agenda, all of us who are not in that top 1% of the wealthiest, everyone who is not playing by this current MAGA agenda. We are all under attack. And so we have the chance now to be more in unity than we've ever been. We have the chance now to build a bigger, broader, more colorful coalition than we've ever done before. And I believe that Justin Jones and Justin Pearson are certainly in the footsteps of Reverend Jackson, certainly in the footsteps of Congressman Lewis, certainly in the footsteps of C.T. Vivian, all of those who have been doing this work. And it's our time right now.
Thank you.
It made my heart so happy.
Thank you. That's so powerful. Kathy Sykes, Mississippi ain't taking it lying down. Tomorrow, Mississippi's about to turn it out. And we want everybody in the nation to know, because one thing we're not going to do is be silent. We're going to have a drum beat from now until November the 3rd. There's going to be a drum beat of mobilizations, activations, voter registration, etc. I want you to tell this nation listening to this radio show in all these 45 cities and 13 nations, tell everybody what Mississippi going to do tomorrow.
We need everyone. All roads need to lead to Mississippi. In Jackson, Mississippi, on tomorrow, we are going to begin at 10 a.m. with a press conference at the old Capitol. It is now a museum. It was a Capitol built with slave labor, and we were supposed to have a special session, but it got canceled, and so we're going to march and rally anyway because our rights are under attack, and we're going to stand up and fight back. So at 10 o'clock, we're having a press conference led by the Poor People's Campaign and the Jackson People Assembly. And then at noon, everyone's going to head to our new state capital, and that's where the rally is going to be. We have national dignitaries coming in to stand with us as we battle, and as you know, everybody's going to be hyped up because of the recent ruling decimating the 3 districts that we just ran in and won. So everybody come to Jackson, Mississippi, May 20th, and meet us at our state capitol as we demand equal and fair representation.
Representative Sykes, we certainly stand with y'all in calling everybody to the Capitol in Mississippi the same way we were at the Capitol in Montgomery with the Capitol in the background, certainly decrying what was going on, putting down the actions of trying to take apart the black vote in Alabama as they're now trying to do it in Mississippi. But Representative Sykes, could you please share with our listeners, because you're also the chair of the new National Christian Leadership Movement, can you share with our listeners the challenge that you're putting out to black ministers, black churches, black religious organizations and institutions throughout this country with regards to this moment and what's going on?
Right. As you look at our history as a people, it has been the black church that has stood in the gap for us. And I don't know what happened between 1965 and today, but many of our church leaders say that they don't want politics in the church, but they are getting away from our tradition because it was the leadership of the black church. Dr. Martin Luther King came out of the black church. Ralph Abernathy, all of our leaders came out of the black church. And we are expecting today for our church leadership and our faith leaders to once again leave out of the sanctuary and get in the streets, because that's what it's going to take. We need their leadership. They need to join our movement, the New National Christian Leadership movement, and they need to become a voice. You can no longer be silent, because as Zornell Hurston say, when you're silent, folks will kill you and say you enjoyed it. So we need to speak out, and we need our churches to come from behind the pulpit, get in the streets with us, support us, as our tradition has always led us. You know, the church that got shot up, if I'm not mistaken, was Denmark Vesey. He was a minister. Hiram Revels, who was a U.S. senator, was a minister from Mississippi doing Reconstruction, the founder of Alcorn State University. So our leadership and our strength, we're rooted in Christ and Lord Jesus Christ. We're rooted in love, and the way you show love, you put it into action. And the way you do that is you get involved. Don't be afraid. Some folk are saying that they got these new big edifices and they talking about their tax status. So, you know, other folks, they don't worry about their tax status. They get out there and they do what they feel like they need to do. They wear the MAGA hats in the congregation and all of that. So we need our members, our leadership in our faith institutions, whether it's the mosque, the synagogue, the church, the Sikhs, whatever they worship, we need everyone on one accord because we do need a moral and spiritual basis for the fight at hand that's before us. And I just cannot implore you enough to get involved. We have a website. You can go to New National Christian Leadership Movement.org, NNCLM.org, and you can become a member if you choose to do so. Just get involved in the fight. You can find out what's going on. You can join us, meet us in Kenner, Louisiana, our first national convention, July 11th through the 13th. And we got to get involved. And that's all I want to say. Thank you so much. And also, before we end, I am executive director of the Mississippi Immigrants' Rights Alliance. And in Mississippi, they passed Senate Bill 2114, which criminalizes being in Mississippi without proper documents. And it goes against the federal law. And so, we're going to see about challenging that in court as well. So we're fighting on all different fronts. I'm going to end right here.
Yes, and Daryl, we are looking forward to seeing all the members of the New National Christian Leadership Movement in New Orleans for your mighty convention, June the 11th through the 13th. Everyone, if you got a collar, everyone, if you are a part of a ministry and you believe in justice, social justice, and our voting rights, be there. Cameron, 17 of the TJC alumni that we've had the honor of training showed up at the All Roads Lead to the South that we know of. There were probably many more in those thousands in the audience, but they were there with their John Lewis T-shirts on. They were holding the TJC Protect Our Vote signs. They were volunteering, helping at all levels of operations, and had our table for transformative justice. What do you hope this new period of activism will mean to, and how should it best engage our Gen Z and young millennials?
Well, this new political climate actually calls for Gen Z and millennials to be more involved as they've ever been. I want everyone to know, according to the Brookings Institute, which is a nonpartisan policy group that just does data about policy, according to the Brookings Institute, that Gen Z and millennial vote is poised to account for about 60% of the eligible electorate by 2036. Now, notice I said, of course, that just means that they're going to account for 60% of the eligible electorate. That does not mean that we are having that much participation. This new political climate calls for Gen Z and millennials to take their place in American politics. We need to have not only 60% of the electorate being eligible at Gen Z and millennials, we have to have 60% of the voting population, the active voting status of voters being Gen Z and millennials. And I keep letting us know that's the ages 18 to 44 right now. For anyone who's listening to this, if you know anyone that is aged 18 to 44 years old, they are a part of this 60% projected eligible voting block by the year 2036. Already in this year, 2026, we're around 40 to 50% of that. We have to start putting these boots on the ground, not just at the line dance and barbecue with your fans and all, but putting boots on the ground on election day. I'm so glad to know that we have a lot of TJC fellows that are on the ground working right now in Alabama, making sure people are voting. We've got Tennessee TJC fellows on the ground right now in Georgia. We know a Darian Fambro. He's down there working to make sure that the Gen Z and millennials are out voting. So we've got to take our place in this day and age, because we can really decide any election right now, from the local up to the federal election. So we've got to do it. We've seen what Gen Z and millennial voters have done before. Don't forget, in the year 2020, it was the Gen Z and millennial vote that flipped Georgia blue for the first time in decades now. You know, we're nonpartisan, so I'm just giving you the regular back. But I'm just letting you know what the Gen Z and millennial vote power can do. You can flip, we can flip anything to go any way. We have to begin to notice what's going on. Make our demands. Hold our politicians accountable, Democrat or Republican, independent or Green Party. Hold them accountable. Do not let anyone buy your vote. Do not let anyone swindle you out of your vote. Your vote is your power. Your vote is your voice, and you have the power to do that. And I'm going to tell every Gen Z and millennial I know that's what we're doing in this coming days.
And Representative Sykes, when people are looking and they're thinking about the new National Christian Leadership Movement and they're going to nnclm.org to join, is it limited to just members of the clergy? Can anybody join that's down with the cause? Can anyone then go to nnclm.org and join and be part of these weekly and monthly calls that are occurring?
Absolutely. It's open to anyone, any group. I mean, if you got a business, you want to register your business, you can join us. We are open to everyone, whether you have a church, a synagogue, a temple, or mosque. We need all faith, all religious leaders to come together. And we are patterned after the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and we practice King nonviolence, and we are centered in love. And love is what is going to take. God is going to have to soften the heart of some of these folk in leadership, and we're going to need everyone in prayer. In Louisiana, our first vice president, Dr. Byron Clay, he and Dr. McClanahan, who's the state president of the NAACP, they marched around the state capitol in Louisiana 7 times and prayed, you know, and so we got to go back to move forward. We are in our Sankofa moment, and we got to rise to the occasion. We got to look back while moving forward. We're not going back, but we must look back, because there are a lot of lessons to be learned from the struggle of others, and we're going to continue to move forward. We might look back, but we're not going back.
My. Wow. Thank you. Cameron, what's your final 1-minute message to our audience as we wind down today's show?
Absolutely. My final message is to never lose the hope. I want to quote the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson in his Democratic National Convention speech: America will get better and better and better. Keep hope alive. I don't want us to be discouraged by what we're seeing. As Reverend would say, I'm going to keep on lifting up Reverend, we have never lost a battle that we fought, and we have never won a battle unless we fought. So this is just some times that we've seen before. We know how to get through this. We have the recipe, and we have the grit to be able to do it. So I want to encourage everybody, don't ever lose faith. Vote like you've never voted before. Check your registration status beforehand. Make sure everyone you know is registered. And when you vote, call 10, 20, 15 other people and make sure they're voting too. We're going to get to the other side of this and do just fine.
My. How do people get in touch with you, sir?
I would love for people, if they could, if you're on Instagram, follow me at CAMB, CAMB.8. I'm on TikTok as CAMB.403. And if anything else, just reach out to the Rainbow Push Coalition. We're open every Saturday for the Saturday Morning Forum. Call Rainbow Push and ask for Cameron. I'll get to you.
All right, now. I heard that.
And the same question to you, Representative Sykes. What are your closing thoughts, your call to action for people that are listening to this program, And how do people reach you?
Okay, so my closing thoughts are that we need to get into good trouble again. And we just have to continue to lift up John Lewis, and we need to all participate in the Good Trouble Lives On activities where we reach people, we teach people, and we preach. So those are my closing words. If you want to reach me, I'm Executive Director of the Mississippi Immigrants Rights Alliance. You can go to www.yourmira.org, and it will have my information on there. And we all have to work together, stick together, pray together, and as our young brother said, we'll get through this. We'll be just fine.
Thank you, and thank you, Cameron. You are amazing. Daryl, as we close out this show, first of all, Mississippi, do it tomorrow. Everybody who can drive, everybody who can fly, everybody who can get into Mississippi, be there for the mobilization tomorrow. You heard press conference at 10. You heard rally at the state capitol in Jackson, Mississippi at noon. Be there. I hope that it's going to be live stream. I'm going to be looking for it. I hope everybody, you participate. And don't forget to call them relatives and them family members, your acquaintances, folks you went to school, your besties who are in these states voting today. Again, that's the mighty states of Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Oregon. The primary elections are today. Make sure that you are telling them to get their vote on. And we also want to remind everybody, as our brilliant Representative Kathy Sykes just said, to save the dates, to become involved in Good Trouble Live On, July 17th through 19th, a weekend of action during this Freedom Summer and this Freedom Fall. We're asking you to be part of it. You can go to goodtroubleliveson.org, and Mighty Daryl Jones is heading up the REACH, which is the voter registration component of this organizing. We're going to do something unprecedented, unseen. We're going to coordinate in the thousands of organizations, and we're going to turn out millions of people to register and vote. I'm giving it to you, Daryl, to take us home.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. Thank you to our guests. Thank you, Minister Cameron Barnes. Thank you, Representative Kathy Sykes, for being with us today and being so inspiring. Folks, you've heard the marching orders. You've heard the call to action. We need you. We need you right now in this moment. You are needed in this fight to protect not just your rights, but the rights of children, African-American children and children of color that have not been born yet. This is that moment. You wondered what you would have done during the 60s when they were crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. You wondered what you would have done when you were marching with Dr. King and they were attacking us. Well, this is that moment. We are under attack. Our voting rights are under attack. We encourage you to get involved with an organization near you. Get involved with the New National Christian Leadership Movement, nnclm.org. Get involved. Get involved in your community. Go to goodtroubleliveson.org and sign up to get involved and to participate in actions and lift up information and knowledge so that the community knows, your neighbors know what's going on. I think that Representative Sykes put it best with the words of Zora Neale Hurston: when you're silent and you're not speaking up, they're going to kill you and say that you enjoyed it when they were doing it. Let's not let that happen. Let's be the open mouth that gets fed, because we know that a closed mouth does not get fed. Let's be heard, everybody. Let's get in good trouble. Let's get off the sidewalks, get into the streets, get in good trouble, make our way to ballot boxes, register our voters, registers our communities, registers our family, register our friends, and let's turn this country around and be certain that it becomes the best country and democracy that it can be. Until next Tuesday, noon Eastern Time. We're talking about igniting change. Tell a friend, tell a relative, tell folks that you know that you need to listen to Igniting Change Radio. You need to go to tjcoalition.org to find out how you can find Igniting Change wherever you are in the country. Folks, until next Tuesday, noon Eastern Standard Time, stand strong, stand tall, and make it happen. Peace, everybody.
Peace.